dude. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this movie, dude. So excited.
Did we see the trailer together?
Probably, yeah.
Because I remember the first trailer came out and it was it started off kind of like Hereditary, the trailer. It started off with a shot of the house and then it just slowly just...
Yeah, from Jordan Peele.
Exactly, yeah. So it started off with that. It was a great trailer where it was just a compilation of shots of just people looking up. I remember, I forgot her name already, but she was describing the history of her great-great-great-granddad.
Yeah, Emerald.
Like they described that, but then just a whole bunch of shots is this, and the trailer passed, and I made a point to myself to not see any other fucking trailer. Yeah. Because that first trailer just like, okay, cool, I'm watching this fucking film. You had me in his name, but now you had me in everything else with it. And trailers just have a fucking an awful habit of just, okay, here's the second trailer, here's the rest of the movie.
My problem. That's my problem with. So Jordan Peele, I have a direct issue with you because I'm a big believer. I don't want to hear anything about the movie, but I get that. Like, I watched so many interviews about this. Stay tuned for just me talking about the end of this. Is just going to be me rattling off so much trivia I found about the movie, and it's all so interesting, awesome. The interviews, and I'll link the interviews in the comments below, or the description, they're so good. Like, every time they talk about, inspiration for the movie, what the movie's about, it's awesome. But primarily, Jordan Peele, I get it. Like, I get that he can't make this movie and put it out there with nothing. Like, Us kind of had a little bit of nothing, but you had, the scissors and their copies of themselves, but you can't make this movie without him literally saying it's a UFO horror film. So then the second trailer immediately confirms there's a big beautiful shot of the UFO behind OJ, and you're like, okay, well now we know exactly what it's about, and then you don't. So spoilers coming up soon. We're going to try to not talk about spoilers, but just understand that there's no way to talk about this movie, and you're not going to tune in for this whole long video with no spoilers. Come on, you're here to talk about the nitty-gritty, because this movie is so deep and has so many incredible, just so rich symbolism and okay. Do you know who this is the DP on this?
I recognize the name.
Yeah, it's Hoyta van Hoytema. He's done Tenet, Dunkirk, Interstellar. He's done everything IMAX. Did you see this in Dolby, IMAX?
Unfortunately, no. So I wanted to see it on IMAX. I remember the seats on IMAX just weren't comfortable. I remember hating it. Then I tried to book tickets for Dolby, but it just didn't look safe. Where there was just too many people, and I was you know what? I went to the latest showing around 9:30 to a pretty empty theater. It was a regular theater. I was lucky. I felt lucky enough to go to an empty theater by myself and watching this because everyone else was watching the expensive version. And that's good.
I luckily got a little corner in the back. And also, I'm recovering from a sinus issue. Luckily, not COVID. I'm so happy that's not COVID, but not happy because it sucked. So just be aware that that's why my voice is kind of rough. But the film is so grounded in IMAX. Not only does the DP, so Hoyta van Hoytema, when they were starting, Jordan Peele asked him, he's just like, if you were to film a UFO, if you knew there was a UFO and you had to film it, what would you use? And he immediately was like, IMAX. It has the best resolution and it can it has so much dynamic range, all this other stuff. And then he's just Jordan Peele's cool. And so that's why IMAX was not only, this is one of the few films that's so about itself. It really is, I keep bumping the mic. It's so cyclic in a lot of its symbolism that it can call back to cool, this is about a Hollywood in a way. So the DP can have an IMAX camera and we're filming, and the film's in IMAX. But the fact that they used IMAX and 65 millimeter, when you're sitting there in a Dolby theater, of course we talked about the UFO nature of it, you're just searching the skies and it's exquisite. It's so good how much of the film uses every piece of it. And like we said with the Everything Everywhere All at Once video, where I'm getting really excited to make these videos and us talking just about these kind of movies. Where we could talk for 2, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever, and still scratch the surface, and everybody in the comments and in the description like in our Everything Everywhere All at Once video, there were so many comments about stuff that I didn't even think about. Yeah. And our video, I thought, like I even mentioned, we only scratched the surface, but we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But this movie and that movie and so many of these movies that are about, like at its core, something really human is just like, there's so much. And I want to hear from everybody, like what you think. But primarily, I love the fact that this movie like is so self-referential in a lot of ways, and we'll get into that. But the first thing that I wanted to mention, before we get into anything, is the name. Did you hear any theories about why it was called Nope?
No. So I get, how can I say this? This table is split between someone who's clearly done his research and the average viewer, right?
Okay, cool.
So and this is what I like about our dynamic is because for me the Nope, it was that's just a title. That is a feeling. Because like in the trailer, they described it pretty fucking well. Where like, hey, something up there is gonna mess with you.
Yeah.
Nope, don't want to fucking deal with it. Don't want nothing to do with that, right? That's a kind of like tone and whatnot. So at first, I'll admit, when I first heard the title Nope in a horror from Jordan Peele, and knowing Jordan Peele from his comedic roots, I was like, oh shit, is he introducing comedy again in this stuff? Because like all three of his movies, including this one as well, a lot of comedic stuff still. There's plenty of comedic stuff. So he hasn't lost a single comedic bone. But I personally felt like, oh, maybe he's gearing a little bit more to the comedy side. But you go on and tell me why. What's up? What is everyone else thinking this Nope title is referring to?
What a lot of people were theorizing is that Nope stands for not of planet Earth. And I think that's pretty cool. Jordan Peele apparently, like in interviews, was like, I didn't intend that. But, like, he more or less did. He like in one interview said like, no, I didn't intend that. Another interview said like, yeah, I got that. But I love the fact that you are more right than anything. That like, you know, the cool idea of just like, oh, this is like an abbreviation for something is like a fan theory.
Yeah, of course.
He made this movie and brought up that fact that like, why would you? So the idea that he deliberately was just like, yeah, when you're in these situations, there's something innate that's like, I'm out of here. If you're watching a horror movie, you're like, that wouldn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Why would people stick around for something so terrifying?
Exactly.
And particularly, you get that from the outset where it's like a really terrifying, horrible things happening. Why are they still there? And deliberately, they start off with like, in the trailer you see is like, we're gonna get the Oprah shot. We are here for a reason, for a mission, and we're coming back for that. We technically, they're like defending, you know, their home, but at the same time, consistently have that inclination of like, I'm getting out of here. Who cares? Like, it's not worth it. One of the best scenes, of course, is where deliberately a dude's like sitting there in his car and he like looks, he's like, nope.
Nuh-uh.
When he hit the when he hit the lock, I was like, so funny and perfect. And like one of the this movie has so much whiplash in it of like horrific, terrifying shit, and then just like really funny like moments where you're just like, oh okay, well, I guess this is just Jordan Peele. Like,
it's some small little human moments that remind you, oh, these are just average people.
Yeah.
Literally just regular down the middle people.
Yeah.
And the whole, going back to what you were saying, the Nope, the wanting to leave and stuff like that. We have two characters who, one of them clearly wants to leave and the other one understands, I have nowhere else to go. So we just have to do what we got to get the Oprah shot. We gotta make it. We have to do something with it and make it for ourselves. Because like, not going into spoilers or anything like that, but like throughout the movie, they're already struggling with financials. They're struggling with like their whole horse ranch and whatnot. They're already just in bad situations. But saying, hey, there's this awful fucking shit situation. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Why? Sorry, feels like I'm doing redundant shit, but there's even a shot, not even a shot, part of the script was like, it's like, let's get out of here. We'll go where? Go where?
Exactly.
And it racks back to her and she's like, fuck. He's like, fuck. Shit.
Especially she's just like, I don't know, we can do, and then she like lists a couple things that are just like, what kind of answer is that?
No.
And even Angel, who's barely got like anything going on for himself, is like, y'all can crash at mine, like it's fine.
Exactly, but no, it's just that scenario is like, no, you make the best with what you can and see what you can do with it.
And especially that like this whole movie, I love how much it talks about something I'm going to mention right now, and is the crux of every single interview that Jordan Peele has done, and it's the beginning of the movie, is the word spectacle. And that the idea of a spectacle. The very beginning starts with, I don't know if it's a Bible verse or a Hebrew verse, but it's a verse from...
It's malicious. It's a nasty, nasty verse.
Apparently, it's like God speaking to a town of sinners, and it says, let me
pull it up.
Let me pull
it's
it up.
It's a nasty quote.
It's really bad, yeah.
He says something like, "I'll cast upon you my filth."
Yeah, so it's Nahum 3:6, and it's in the Hebrew Bible, and it's God's judgment on Nineveh. So it's like a sinful place.
Yes.
And it says, I will pelt you with filth, I will treat you with contempt, and I will make you a spectacle. And the movie, when you start off with the idea of like what a spectacle is, like Jordan Peele has been completely like open with like this movie is a spectacle.
Yeah.
And the idea that that's not a positive thing, but also not really a negative thing, is just kind of neutral and can be taken terribly. That like what draws us to something that's so like a train wreck, that's so awful, but you can't look away. And so it's similar to the UFO, where it's like this terrifying eldritch abomination, but they can't leave it alone. Literally nobody in this film can leave it alone. So much so that we have that perfect moment where they're setting up the like plastic horse, and then Jupe shows up, and he's just like, "Hey, where'd you get that horse?" But then they like move on to like all four of them are all thinking the same thing of just like, there's a UFO around here, and Jupe is just like, "Oh, cool, I'm having an event.
You stay there."
Don't come. And so like you have each of the characters characterized like perfectly, where all of them are embodying themselves, trying not to talk about the elephant in the room.
about literally what's up there.
And it's like a perfect moment. But then not only Jupe says just like, "Today you will see an absolute spectacle," he says.
Yes.
And it's so good because it really draws into focus the idea of like what a spectacle is, and it really draws you like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. That like first time he says the word spectacle, then later on he says spectacle. And Jordan Peele the entire time talks about spectacle. But something that I love in the making of the movie is that apparently this was postulated during the pandemic. And so the idea that he started off with the movie, and apparently the idea he said, he's just like, I want to make the most ambitious, in his mind he's like, what's the most ambitious thing I could think of right now? And then he kept pushing himself to do it. Yeah. So we got Hoyta van Hoytema.
Sorry.
Go on.
Ambitious in what way? Like ambitious as in, because not only, I don't want to say only, that's disrespectful, but he's made 2 films already.
Yeah.
He's about to release this one. What do you mean by like, I want to make this more? Like, what do you mean by that?
So like, what I love is that like a lot of his movies have these deep symbols. This one has so many, like too many. So much so that my notes, I kept scrolling just to find one quote that I wrote down. That the idea of this movie being that all of the other, his other movies have these ideas that you'll be mulling over for the rest of your life. But this one in particular, his first movie was like low budget, of course.
Super, yeah.
This one they shot on IMAX.
Which is a lot more compared to what they shot, not Don't Breathe, Get Out. They shot that with an Arri Alexa Mini, which is like the cheapest camera that you can rent right now in bigger cinema stuff.
Yeah, like the highest budget shots are like some VFX shots. It's mostly just like crowd shots are probably what took the most coordination. Everything else is just in a house.
Everything was shot in the house.
Exactly, that he needs to get out. So, but like this is the movie where it's just like, how do I use every part of what I know? So not only he got like an amazing DP explicitly for this, I don't know the sound designers, but apparently like they worked really hard. He got with them early where he's like, I want to do a UFO. How are we going to do the sound design? And they're like, wind, like every part of wind. How can we use every part of like what wind sounds like to embody this thing? And so not only that, but then also all of the actors. Apparently, every single actor, he was like, if I don't get them, I'm going to be mad. Because his first choice was everybody except for Angel. So Keke Palmer, the actress that plays Emerald, She actually has known Jordan since 2013.
That's fucking awesome.
She did a thing for Key and Peele.
Oh, really? That's dope, dude.
It was the anger translator. She was Malia Obama's anger translator, like their daughter's anger. Yeah,
dude.
And apparently they've known each other forever. And she even like after Get Out like DM'd him like I want to like I would love to work with you again on anything. This movie's so good. He apparently never checks his DMs, so they were on set, and then he checked his DMs and was like, "Hey, shit, look at that."
And she was probably like, "Yeah, I sent you like."
Yeah, like,
that was a long ass time ago, dude.
But she was completely like in his mind for this, especially Daniel Kaluuya, who he already worked on Get Out. But now, Daniel Kaluuya has won an Oscar for Judas and the Black Messiah. Keke Palmer also won an Emmy, and then we have Steven Yeun, who also was nominated for Minari. He worked on.
He was in Minari. Holy shit.
He was Glenn in Walking Dead. He's done a lot. And so him in particular, like he wanted him, the only person that he didn't have in mind was Angel.
Angel is he's the tech geek professional in the, he's basically a Nerd Squad from
Geek Squad.
Geek Squad from whatever.
Yeah, Best Buy.
Yeah.
So the thing that I love about him, and I love about that entire idea, is that exactly how you just described it is how Jordan Peele saw it. Where it's like, who's the quirky, nerdy, geeky guy? And then Angel shows up. I mean, the guy's name is Brandon Perea. He shows up to the audition and like goes like, oh, like, what do you want? No, you don't want that. Like, my girlfriend just broke up with me. Like that, that whole feel. And apparently Jordan like had an idea in his head, but after watching that audition, like he couldn't stop laughing. He was like, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any idea about it. But what I love that Jordan said is that like it was big for all of these actors and all of these characters to bring something to the character. They rewrote and rethought of stuff. But for Brandon in particular, with Angel, Jordan at the end of the interview said he's just like, hey, so I like what you've brought, but it's so different from what I thought that I would have to rewrite my movie. And then Brandon's like, oh, okay. And he's like, so I'm going to rewrite my movie. And then,
aw, dude.
And apparently they like both cried, and it's just a really nice moment. But like, that's what I love about this movie, that like Jordan from the outset, from the beginning, was already bringing in so much that he, in particular in a lot of interviews, he and the producer, Ian Cooper, also mentioned there's like collaboration's huge here.
Yeah.
And that we couldn't do this without these other people, because primarily Jordan's like, I have this vision, but like, all the other actors, and you and I have talked about this, are the keeper of their character.
Yeah.
So I need to check in with like, what would your character think? How are they? And a lot of the different actors bring that to their characters. Steven Yeun, all of his interviews are so good. He's like, you know, in the movie, he's kind of like, he has this like air about him, and he's always composed.
When they first introduce him, it's, how can I say, it's almost kind of like a bit of a spectacle, because they have to walk through his entire, like his ranch that he holds, not his ranch, but like this amusement park that he's going through. They have to go through his office, they talk to his lady, she's on the phone busy, she's like, yeah, go ahead and get in. And as soon as they get in, it's almost like that moment where he turns around.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, how you guys doing? And like, and he's like, they're trying to talk the whole business thing.
Of course.
And she's going over all his walls and all his knickknacks and whatnot.
He lives in a mausoleum of like a museum, you know?
Of just like TV history and stuff that he liked and whatnot. So meeting him was a bit of a spectacle as well.
Yeah, and especially that like Steven in a lot of the interviews, he's like the Nietzschean philosopher. That like whenever they ask him questions, he just goes off on this like tangent, and he's just like, it's so funny because like in the interviews, he's just like sitting there like really chill and calm, and like all the other actors are like having a really good time, and he's just sitting there in the back like contemplating life, and it's really funny. I highly recommend check all these interviews, just because like Steven is, I would love to get a beer with him. Like every other actor I would party with, him I would sit down and just have a cigar and be like, what do you think about this?
What do you think about it? And
Yeah.
With a cigarette and just
Yeah,
just
exactly.
in complete silence. Why not?
Well, and explicitly, it's funny because like all of them, they kept going on like these quirky TV shows, and all of them were like, well, let's play a game called Yup or Nope, and you tell me if you would do this or not. And most of them, he's just like, I got kids, no. Like, that's so fun. And they're so good, and he's like, he seems just like a chill guy, but he's on like a different wavelength.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about the movie. They brought so many different talents together in a perfect storm that literally, the thing that I find amazing about Jordan and like this movie and a lot of his movies is that this one in particular, you gotta come in with like, this is how I want this to work out. Apparently Daniel Kaluuya and a lot of the other actors are like, what am I looking at? Like, they just couldn't, he had to like try to explain it to them because like VFX wasn't done.
True.
They couldn't like consistently show them or like introduce that to them. So he had to like be the keeper of this idea, similarly to like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where like the whole, when you see the movie, it makes sense. But when you're in it, when you're in the storm making it, I don't know how to describe this to you in this moment on set where you need to know what's happening. You know?
I can see how difficult it can be to like, hey, so how would you direct somebody who's like, hey, you just noticed something, and that something is, how can I say, within the context of the story is massive.
Yeah.
But like, how would you direct somebody at that moment, at that time, who's probably like, let's just say like, what if they recorded that specific scene day one?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, how would you go about like directing that? It's like, okay, so when you deliver this line and you want to instill fear from that cloud, like, just, I can't even think how would I describe that to anyone?
Because like a lot of the times with directing, you're trying to like explain things in abstract concepts so they understand the feeling they're going for, but also not so much that you're just kind of like giving away the ghost. You're like, your character is feeling this way, and you're trying not to like give them too much or too little. Yes. But also not trying to like act for them.
Your character is now realizing that they have been watched for a lot longer than they think.
Yeah.
Right? But then again, still, when you don't know, as the actor, you don't know the grand scheme of the bad guy, how do you react to that way? I can definitely see that. I can definitely be that AC, just trying to pull focus on that shot, being like, I'm confused. Good thing I'm just doing this, because I'm confused.
Yeah, and I really can't fathom how you juggle all of these different elements, because not only the actors, but also like getting ready for VFX, and also that Hoyta van Hoytema is big on get it in camera. Like apparently on Ad Astra, which he worked on too, they did some of the moon stuff practically. Like, so apparently they pushed together two IMAX cameras. One was shooting in infrared, the other one wasn't, so that the sky would show up black, like on the moon. And so that's how they got the moon practically. Like they did stuff like that. And it's incredible how much like you don't realize how all of these people are firing on all cylinders to make something like this. Yeah. So
for someone like me, who I didn't even know this was shot on IMAX. For someone like me just to walk in, it's like, this is a movie. Like this looks like a movie to me. Like they probably brought out their cameras, said action, blah blah blah. But no, it's fucking complex. It's crazy.
If you have the ability to see it on IMAX, see it on IMAX.
Especially if you have like Jordan, his fucking team of people that know what the fuck they're doing. And I mean, that's why he specifically asked for these people. Right? Because he knows that they know that what they're doing.
And the last thing that I want to say before we go into spoilers is that this is like, in my opinion, Jordan Peele's Hamilton. Where like Hamilton was written because like the creator, who I am blanking his name and I'm going to feel really stupid, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like he was given a book on a plane and then like just this inspiration came to him. Apparently the producer, Ian Cooper, gave him a book on Eadweard Muybridge. So I'm trying to remember the guy's name, link in the description. The guy that made the Galloping Horse video. Like way back in 1878, I think it was. And the book, like, I read into it. That story's incredible because not only was it like, that gif of just the dude on the horse is so fluid. How do you get that almost like 150 years ago? Like, how do you do that? And they set up a bunch of cameras. Apparently each camera was shooting at 1/1000 shutter speed to get it like really crisp. But this was after a lot of experimentation. And they did one version which was just like a horse on a carriage. But then this one was, the horse was going so fast, like how do you get the horse going that fast? Like how do you even remotely do it? And nobody had done it, so much so that like this is apocryphal, it didn't happen, but this is the story, that like people wanted to prove that during a gallop a horse lifts all 4 of its legs, you know, like during the gallop. And people didn't have like straight up and down evidence of that. I don't think anybody, there was an idea that there was a bet about that. I don't think there was. Okay. But overall, the way to get it so fast is that the horse would run super fast, and then there would be a circuit for the 24 cameras that they set up.
Oh, okay.
And they would, for each one, and that when the horse went, it would trip over a wire that would cut the circuit and take the picture.
That's what it was, yeah.
And it's perfect. And the thing that I love about this is how much you think about that, and you think about the guy that did it, but you forget that like, the innovation's interesting. But in current modern movie grammar, people are getting more interested in stunt people and the people that actually make the image, like that are putting themselves on the line.
Yeah.
Like planning and technical stuff is really interesting and important, and CGI is really cool. But when you have someone that is trained for so long that they can then replicate something, or they can ride a horse perfectly exactly how you need, you forget how important that skill is.
Yeah.
And how that's thrown by the wayside, so much so that that guy literally is not known. Nobody knows their name.
Yeah.
So the fact that they give him a name, Jordan Peele said that this movie is the sequel to the first movie. That we are making a movie that is drawing back to, well, who was that guy? What was he about? And why does he matter? And why do people like that matter? And how do we treat them?
Okay.
And so that gets in the actual movie. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we go to spoilers?
No, so I like what you were just bringing up, because like, how can I say, filmmakers have this stigma where like, and I say filmmakers, by filmmakers I mean new student filmmakers who have like this stigma. It's like, I'm gonna capture the shot. You see, I'm the owner of the camera. I'm the guy who's capturing. I will direct you. Therefore, this is my piece. They never, like you said, they don't think about the performer.
Yeah.
The actual the person actually in front of the camera doing the thing.
Yeah.
You know,
the talent they're drawing.
That has to do it constantly, the same amount of time.
Yeah.
The amount. I mean, that literally we see it as a gift. The person riding the horse. Yeah. It's borderline a gift. We don't know this person's name.
Yeah.
All the work
the
that they've work that they've done, yet he's not accredited.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I'm looking at him.
Yeah.
Like that.
And that's what I love about, like, you know, the whole movie is about these people that are corralling and trying to get this perfect shot of the UFO. And yet, in the movie, and in the trailers, you see this DP character who's like, he's like, hey, what would you shoot on? He brings his own equipment. He brings the IMAX. They talk about him about like, well, what would you use to film something?
Yeah.
And he brings an IMAX camera. And explicitly, in the trailers and a lot of stuff, you think of him and him capturing it. But the movie itself is explicitly about all the people working to get that image and get the Oprah shot. And so he, in particular, in my mind, that DP is like, Eadweard, the guy that first made the clip back in way back when, that he's integral and important, but he's just one part of this huge orchestration, and he only came in at the end, you know, and like if he were to publish that himself, he'd get a lot of like recognition, but ultimately you forget about how many people contribute. And I gotta say, that clip, way back when, this was kind of before motion pictures were really motion pictures.
Exactly.
They were a sideshow. They were a spectacle. And I love it because it is one of the, literally, Edison hadn't even started his like, I think he called it a kaleidoscope or romana or something like that. That it's like the whole idea of these cool moving pictures you would go see in a tent. It was like a zoetrope, you know, that thing that you spin and it makes an image? A circle, like in a UFO. Anyway, but that idea that like, even back then, the first motion picture that exploited this human being and their expertise, and nobody knows them or what they like contributed and how much they worked on this thing, that they were a spectacle. And that as we go on, you see the spectacles throughout the ages in the way that like, there's one element, and this is why like I feel vindicated. There were spoilers in the trailers, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But there's an entire subplot we don't even remotely see or is hinted at in the trailers, except for a couple images. And this is when we're gonna go into spoilers.
Spoiler!
Okay, now that the entire thing with Gordy the monkey and the spectacle.
So how do you start this movie, right?
Yeah.
So the movie starts. So, what were you wanting about the spoilers? The movie starts off with the shoe.
Yeah.
The shoe is just standing there. You start off
like
looking
in an uncanny way.
Uncanny way. The shoe is just standing straight the fuck up. No shoe does that. But then it starts to dolly away from the shoe. And like, I guess that itself, it can be a spectacle. That shoe is standing straight up. What the fuck is up with that? But the more you zoom out, the more of the picture you see, obviously. Yeah. And you see that you're under, at first you can't tell that you're under the table. That you're like looking through what looks like to be talent's eyes of a sitcom show, but they're just bodies all over the place.
What I love is that in the very first shot, when you first see that, you have no idea what perspective you're seeing. Yeah. And then once you see it in the flashback, you're like, oh shit, that's Jupe's eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially that at the end of the shot, the monkey looks at the camera, and I'm like, that's weird. Then when you realize it's Jupe, you're like, oh no, like.
It's fucked where like the camera just keeps on zooming out. You see bodies on the ground. You hear like and shit like that. You're like, what the fuck? And like this ape covered in fucking blood.
Yeah.
Like his neck looks torn up. The CG was kind of shit. But like it just walks in. He taps a dead body and it's clearly dead.
Yeah.
And the ape is just.
Yeah.
And it cuts.
Yep.
And it's like more movies need to do that, dude. They did it in the Madness movie with Doctor Strange where she looks at the camera for 2 seconds and everyone freaks. Like,
well,
they need to do that more.
There's a diegetic in-universe reason.
There's a tone and energy behind it that it gives you the effect like, oh, don't look at me. Like,
and I will say, all burgeoning filmmakers out there, if you ever want people to really love your movie, start off with something that doesn't make any sense but is really interesting, then pay it off, and then have it mean something important. Yep. And that's what I love about the idea that
Chekhov's Gordy.
Chekhov's Gordy, exactly. But two things about Gordy. One, I love the idea that Gordy immediately embodies of like, this is an animal that was treated with like little restriction that they brought him on set. He's like, oh, here's a funny monkey. And then there's a pop of a balloon and he goes like crazy. And
that's
by crazy, just instinctually. And that's the thing is that like, just because you feed and treat an animal nice doesn't mean you control it, you know?
True.
And we get into that later. But also the fact that two things I just need to talk about, get off my chest, are one, when Jupe is talking about it, he says like, oh, that was the first time we ever did like an exploding fist bump. And then they go to do the fist bump. And then right before they do it, his head explodes. Love that.
Yeah.
But also two, that Jordan Peele's entire production house, it's called Monkey Paw.
Yeah.
And we see a monkey paw. Love it. Amazing. It's just
awesome.
So good. So when it comes to Jordy, we see that he. First, we have them like their great-great-great-grandfather. But then we also have Jordy, who is also brought as a spectacle. This is a fun thing, and the reason why people want to watch that movie, that show.
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be
fun.
The whole spectacle is right there,
Exactly. And then so we see that that's its own spectacle. But as we go further, you see that everybody themselves is either becoming their own spectacle, but they're also feeding into this idea of like, I can't look away. I want this really exciting, cool thing.
You're attracted to it.
Yeah. But like a moth to a flame. Like, why can't we look away from a car crash? But in particular, the thing that I really like about the parallel between the monkey and Jupe is that, and I hate to say it, but we did talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that the guy that played Short Round, Key, who I love, and I loved him in Everything Everywhere All at Once, he was kind of the spectacle at the time of like the Asian kid trope.
Yeah.
And then grew up, and as he grew up, they were like, oh, well, you're not interesting anymore, and we don't want you. And then he didn't even resurface until Everything Everywhere All at Once for that reason. And for them to make that movie and Key to deliberately talk about that recently really puts into perspective the idea of Hollywood and spectacle. Yeah. And that Gordy, like the monkey, was co-starred with Jupe's character, who is also the Asian stereotype, who is kind of made fun of and disrespected and made a spectacle of, even in that like quick clip that we see. And then the monkey is like, not only doesn't understand the difference between its own instinct of like defending itself when there's a pop, but also it doesn't understand the difference between that pop and its training of like, oh, I know to fist bump this little kid. So it's not that it has any positive emotion with the kid, it's just going through what it understands, but also the fact that the fist bump creates this connection between the two of them, that they're both a spectacle in a way or in one way or the other, and that Jordan Peele is going through the ideas that like all of these characters are not only it's a minority driven film, which amazing, but also the fact that it's like these characters and these archetypes throughout Hollywood have been exploited.
And so just to solidify that, as soon as the one bad thing happened, both the monkey and fucking Jupe, you're done with his business. What happened afterward? He was never in any other shows. He dedicated his life in opening this ranch and collecting his own memorabilia. Which is
super weird.
What?
But also that's horrific.
Exactly. That's what's fucked up about it. Is that like literally the producer probably shot the ape. The producer probably walked in and was like, "Bam! Okay." At the end of the day, who were the two last people at center stage? Was him and the ape.
And also the fact that he recounts it like it's a funny thing. Because from a young age, he's a child actor, so he might not know the difference. And something that they've said in interviews is that, and I really love, because Steven Yeun, that's also why I love him in the interviews, is because he said, he's like, this movie was kind of traumatic for me and isolating. And it's like, holy moly. And that's why like watching him in interviews, you're like, dude, this guy's like really thinking about stuff. Because he said on set, he's like, I felt really sad. Like on set, and I didn't know if that, or depressed basically, and he's like, I don't know if that was me or the character, and he realized it was the character, because this character, he said it's like getting into a suit that's 15 layers deep. That Jupe started off as a child actor, so didn't know any better, and then not only that, but then was in a very traumatic experience. And when you're a child actor, you aren't really taught right from wrong. Everybody's just trying to make you happy, so that they can make money off of you, make you a spectacle.
Exactly. They keep you on the unknown. Like you're not supposed to know any of this. Just know your lines. That's it.
And that when he grows up, he thinks that like, oh, cool, this is a story I can tell so that people like me and people give me attention and I'm a spectacle again. So the idea of attention and like using all of these really like traumatic and terrifying ideas as a way to get attention and keep it is really gross. And we see that in him when he talks about like, first of all, they have the Mad magazine, which harkens back to Jordan Peele was on Mad TV. And that's how he started. Love it. But also the fact that he's like, oh, you didn't see the SNL sketch? It's amazing. In which SNL, of course, making spectacles of real life, that he's just like, oh yeah, this, and he tries to tell it like this really funny, interesting thing when he lived it and he was there and it was like traumatic. And you get that feel a little bit that Keke Palmer, like, well, the character Emerald, is like, they're connecting over the idea of showmanship, and they're both charisma. But at the end of the day, you see that like her and OJ are both just kind of like, oh, like they're listening to him and like giving him that moment, but also just like, well,
it's
Jesus.
Almost like that situation is a bit of a nope too.
Like
nope, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be listening to this.
You can't look away.
I can't.
You're like,
no.
And that brings me to something that I want to talk about really quick, which is the idea that they say, what's a bad miracle? Do you have an idea of a bad miracle in your head? Like when he said that, I thought long and hard and couldn't think of anything for a bit.
Bad miracle. The only thing that comes across is just shit throughout history where one person thought an idea was good but ended up fucking a lot of people over. Like a lot of stuff in our history. Oh shit. Who would have thought?
But also perfectly, like a sideshow, like making somebody look goofy, like a court jester or a spectacle, and that person is now getting attention, and the other guy, and like getting ridiculed and disrespected, while the other guy's making money and getting like all this fame. But even then, and something that I really love is two things. One, Cameron actually brought this up. Like my brother and I were talking about the movie, and he said like, I asked him, I'm like, what do you think's a bad miracle? Trying to stump him, and he's just like, COVID. Right? A lot of people got opportunity to do a lot of things. Like a lot of careers were made on COVID, but a lot of bad happened. So it's the idea that this was a very sudden terrible thing. That the word miracle, though, still has a weird positivity about it. So in a lot of fan theories, we're also saying like a plague, because like Moses asked for a plague. It was bad for the Pharaoh, good for Moses. But in my mind, this whole movie is about spectacle. I think the thing that really hurt, I'm going to be honest.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's something just triggered in my
No,
brain
please
when
go
you said
on,
it.
go on.
Going back to the movie, what was the one? The one, Sons of Egypt or something like that?
Yeah, sure.
Where like the two brothers and the pharaohs and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
God gives them the fucking stick and it says, with this stick you shall perform my miracles.
Oh,
he literally says
you're right.
my miracles. And his miracles were not just splitting the sea, but also killing the kids, fucking the plague of frogs. That's his miracles.
Dude, that's a really good catch. Dang, I like that a lot.
It's crazy, but go on, sorry.
But in the same way, that the movie's about spectacles.
Yes.
Every single thing that you just mentioned about like the kings of Egypt, that like they're the prince of Egypt.
That's what it was, sorry.
Yeah, all of those moments, all of those plagues were all spectacle moments. But the thing that I was about to say, that really hurt, and I'm gonna be really honest, like when I go back and rewatch some of these interviews, I'm like, oh, is the fact that a lot of them actually bring up in the interviews that like David Kaluuya especially. Okay. He mentions that they're like, hey, how do you feel being an award-winning actor now? And he's just like, before even that, when Get Out came out, like, I did Black Mirror and that was cool. After Get Out came out, there was a distinct day I remember going out just to go get some like chips or something, and like people, a dude yelled at him because they recognized him, and he's like, oh, my life's different forever. And so it's so amazing. There's a couple of interviews that I really love where all of them kind of talk about the fact that fame and attention and spectacle have become a bad miracle. That they're no longer, just a person that can go hang out. They now, whenever they're outside, are a character that people want to do a certain thing and want to be a certain way. And literally Steven Yeun says in one of the interviews that he's just like, yeah, sometimes you just kind of got to give into it. Like, you're no longer your own person, but you're what you kind of feed into what they want you to do and what they want you to say. And it's really sad.
Like I'm just a performer to them.
Yeah. I'm just a monkey dancing. Like, And then explicitly.
I hope a balloon don't pop, man.
Yeah.
People have their limits.
That balloon don't pop. Damn, you're right.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right.
When you get treated like not as a person, but more as like the object on the screen.
Yeah.
Like suddenly you're gonna start thinking that these are not my people either. They're just want me to perform. They're just someone in the audience and shit like that.
And explicitly, the thing that really kind of is gross about all that, and the gross about the fame part about it and the spectacle, is that the director of the DP character, he's just like, what are you gonna do when you get to the top of that mountain? Like, he's just like, what does that top of that mountain look for you? And then he's just like, I'm there every day. And it's like, explicitly in the film is a character who's made it, who is super rich, and who says, like, I'm about to go cut into a beautiful lemon tart with 8 people I love. Yeah. But you can tell on his face that he's just like sifting through dailies, and he's looking for this one last thing that isn't, he's not the one that like is thinking, oh, how much money am I going to make off the UFO? He's the one thinking, what's something I can do that's going to give my life meaning again?
Yeah.
Like, what's something that's going to, why did I get into this? To film amazing things. And Kiki Palmer, Emerald, even says that. It's just like, you're literally the only one that can get the shot. And he's like, you're right.
And she mentions like, that's kind of like, I don't know, that's what I like about like what Emerald did in that specific scene where like, She's about to ask, in the beginning of the movie, they're shooting a commercial for whatever reason. They have to rent one of their horses and they're supposed to like do the thing. And the assistant director himself says like, we got legendary DP, whatever, mentions his name, and he's just already just... on a probably mayonnaise commercial. On a fucking shitty mayonnaise commercial, he's like, this horse is gonna look as good as a horse does. Like, he literally says that, like, as good as any other horse will look, and whatever, and just approaches him and says, like, listen, we don't have money, and he's immediately like, yeah, I know favors and shit like that. It's like, I'm willing to do for favors as well.
I already did one for them, now this one's one for me.
Exactly, yeah. And he says, like, you're the only one who can get this fucking shot. Literally just kind of like boosting his ego.
Yeah,
like, you know what? you're right.
Yep.
I am the only one. And like, I feel like that kind of like you said, like he shifted through like all this work. He's saying all these things like, look, I'm up here already and stuff like that, but he still has that one thing. He wants that one thing. Maybe they can provide it.
Yep, and explicitly, like, that's also what I love about him, is he has that moment where, like, they literally, they got the shot. They did exactly it.
Yeah, they got the Oprah shot.
And then he looks up and he's like, it's golden hour. It's just like, he's in it for him. He screws the whole thing up. They got on IMAX the shot, and he goes out of his way to be like, no, I need this for me. I need to go get the most impossible shot from inside. And like goes and runs up, and he's just like, I will do this thing. Yeah.
It costed him everything.
Yep.
I mean,
and it costed them everything. They lost all the footage.
They lost all of it. I don't think Angel knows how to process IMAX film footage. I don't think,
exactly.
You know?
It's going to cost more just to process the footage.
Exactly. You guys are gonna go broke just to process it.
Yep.
But no, it's good shit.
Yeah.
He specifically, I remember thinking that shot, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? And then just like you said, he says like this isn't the shot. He almost insults his own work.
Yeah, exactly.
He says like, this isn't it. He grabs his fucking pocket camera or his pocket film thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a 16 or something like that.
Yeah, like a very old camera.
He just goes, and he's directly just like,
yep.
Like, I'm going in, baby. He fucking gets sucked up. It reminded me of the Cloverfield monster.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Where like he eats the one dude and like he just goes up.
Yeah.
But no, it's
so
Icarus, I guess.
Yeah. And now that we've started talking about, and I want to pinch off the fact with the people in Hollywood at the very beginning to concretely show that like these are the money men that don't care.
Yeah.
And they just want you to be like, oh, cool, he's going to do a quick safety thing, but nobody's listening. And nobody's paying attention except for until Keke Palmer's Emerald comes up and starts doing the dance and whatever.
A spectacle.
And exactly.
Has to do a spectacle to get these fuckers' attention.
Yep. And like everybody's kind of paying attention. But then when it comes to like dealing with OJ, they go so quickly and he's just like, no, I need to keep track of the horse. Don't look it in the eye. Don't stand behind it. But people don't listen to him, and then one person stands behind it. The horse gets spooked when it sees the metal ball that like reflects its eyes back at it.
Yeah.
And then it kicks the thing and they get out of a job because nobody's patient enough and nobody respects them enough to give them what they need to make sure things are working well. And it shows that this movie is very intent on like, you need to respect everybody on set, and you need to respect everybody that's put in the time and effort to be kind of the expert on set. And you need to respect what they have to say and make sure that everybody's safe before you do anything, or else you are making a spectacle of yourself and what you're doing. Yeah.
That's why. And how can I say this? It's sad that one, they had to put up a spectacle to even get attention.
Yeah.
Two, I'm willing to bet like they when that first scene was about to start, they made it like a huge deal. Like, hey, this is like one of the very few last jobs that we got before like I have to sell more of these fucking horses, all this other stuff, just for her to it's very clear that she has a history of just like being late and like just screwing stuff up for him, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And just, how can I say, one, whenever you're in that industry, you're paid for how professional you are, and that means how friendly and how you can coexist within the film set.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just like being polite and stuff like that. It's legit working with people in communication. But no, these two's like, their grandfather's not even here. Like he died. Like they're who is this? That's not is that OJ? No.
Yeah. Well, they even said it's just like, hey, where's their dad? And he's like, oh, he died 6 months ago. And they're just like, oh, so we're stuck with him. Like the guy says under his breath, he's like, fuck. Yeah.
And like they turn around and like,
But also the fact that like, once you see more about their father, so first of all, he's played by Keith David, amazing actor.
As soon as I heard that voice, I was like, "Ooh, let's go, dude! He's awesome."
This is what I love. You hit the nail on the head. That literally Jordan Peele was thinking is like, who can I get that in a short amount of time we can show this is the man, this is the guy in control, and that he is big shoes to fill. Yeah. And
fucking with a voice like that, he's on the horse, he's patrolling the ranch, he's I forgot what he was doing. I think he was training another horse. And like he's just sitting there just like you hear his Spawn voice and you're like, oh dude, he's about to tell Maliboisia to fuck off.
And so he's a huge place to fill. And so for them to be like, oh fuck, he's not here, like
just to have ripped away from them. Like that, literally.
And you know what? You know what kills him? Do you remember?
The fucking coin. Looking up.
Yeah, that coin is a nickel.
Okay.
With Thomas Jefferson's face on it. A very well-known slave owner.
True.
And kind of piece of shit. Well, not very piece of shit. But also, Cameron mentioned this. Credit to Cameron.
Yeah.
Do you know what they used to call a quick little spectacle you'd go see?
A Nickelodeon? Oh, shit. Okay.
Isn't that fucked?
They inserted the coin, didn't they? Damn, bro.
It's really good. And also the fact that Cameron...
they made him keep it. It was in a Ziploc, like, hazmat bag.
And, like, lobotomizes their father. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It was fucking insane. That scene itself was just crazy because, like, you think, oh, it's hailing in fucking whatever, California? That's impossible. And then, like, you start seeing, like, its key parts, its pieces of metal.
Yeah.
And shit like that, and, like...
And so, the only other thing is that it goes straight through his eye, which is kind of a foreshadowing that don't look at it, you know? But also, too, that it's a weird kind of moment, because... early on, you get a quick. I think I'm remembering this right. That there's like a news clipping that's like 2 hikers gone missing. So presumably, the jean jacket, which we're finally getting into the UFO, a jean jacket swept up these 2 hikers, ate them, digested them, and then spat out their metal pieces.
Yeah.
And so that was coins and keys. But I love that. That's a really good image because you're like, why a nickel? Who has nickels? But then a key is in Ghost or one of the
Lucky,
horses.
I think the horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like on its hip, like inside its hip.
Yeah. But like, who has a key? Like a human being. Like it's immediately like, why would a key get swept up? Either a toolbox got swept up or a person. And so you're just like immediately like, what the fuck? So that. Really quick thing I wanted to mention about the story, like, you know, Emerald's like cool story she has about like we had skin in the game. Not only they shot it 20 times, and Jordan Peele kept saying it's just like the thing that was hardest for me to edit was her spiel because he's just like every time she gave it to me, she gave it to me slightly different, and it was like so like charitable and giving of her to do that, but also really hard to like pick which one he wanted. Also, 2, the very beginning, and this is in the trailers. She says he's like my great grandfather, and then OJ says great, and he's like that's another great, and she's playing it off. That was a mistake because you see later she's watching the video of her dad giving the same speech.
This is literally the same speech, and she misses one great because technically
his dad would have said great. And because she's reciting his version, it's only 2 greats. And it's amazing to show that like that little Easter egg that it's literally, just like the reason why they're not on that. She's trying to put forth this persona of like I'm so cool, but it is completely manufactured.
To me, it was more on OJ saying like I've seen that video too. Like I was a fan of that man as well. I was a fan of him as well. That's kind of like what it felt to me as well. Because like how can I say OJ's the true fan, dude? Like he stayed and worked with him. He literally like did all that stuff. This is his
life. He has a flip phone. He doesn't care about anything else.
Doesn't give a fuck about anything else. That confused me too. The whole flip phone thing. That confused me.
Some people thought that like in the trailer
it was like a piece.
They thought that it would be the movie would take place in like 2004.
Exactly, it was a timepiece, but no, he's a person of focus. Like he obviously wants to have this ranch be successful, just like how his granddad and his dad has made it successful and stuff like that. And here she comes, does a spiel, everyone likes her. She fucks off, everything comes back into a fucking mess. Makeup bag gets kicked away. As a film guy that has worked on films and shit like that made me cringe too.
Well, and especially that they say is like he's like, oh, my name is OJ, and she's like, your name's OJ, and it's like immediately makes him a spectacle just from his name.
Just like I forgot her name, but good casting on her. Just like your name is OJ. Like
oldest whitest lady.
Literally just
It's so good. So now I think we can get a bit into the UFO. So I think you had mentioned the Jaws parallel. Like this might have been one before we started recording.
Yeah, there was an interview that I saw with Jordan Peele, and he was discussing about like somebody asked him a question like, how do you make stuff scary and stuff like that? And him being himself, he answered the best way he could, where he was saying that like Jaws, it started with Jaws, right? Where like everyone was afraid of Jaws because they didn't know what Jaws was gonna do. They didn't see the monster until the very end. They were just afraid of entering the waters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how you never want to reveal the monster until the very end, right? You wanna use tension. You wanna use what the monster can do to you. Let people run their imaginations go wild and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't reveal the monster ever. That kind of stuff. But in this movie, I felt like, me personally, they revealed the UFO fairly early.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like, okay, Jordan, that's a little like, I don't want to say like I don't want to call it hypocrisy or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we still see the shark fin.
Yeah.
We know what a shark looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
But we don't know what's gonna do to you.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, even though it's eating people or whatever. But in this movie, it's like, we don't know what the fuck it's doing. It's just watching shit. It just killed his dad as far as we know, just rained metal on him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's still a bit scary.
Yeah, and we don't technically see it like fully unfurled until the end, but even then, yeah, like the version you see, it has like, it's a UFO, but then it has like this little divot at the front, which is that little pinhole that it's viewing through. It's like the square, like a film screen, you know, or like a camera, and then it's getting that exact look.
You at first you don't even know. You see the names in the movie. You see like, oh, directed by blah blah blah, and you're like in this square shaft being pushed forward. And that the entire time you're thinking something's gonna pop at the end of that shaft.
Yeah.
Something's gonna pop at the end of the shaft. No, you're going through digestion.
Yeah. Oh God. Dude.
You're going through digestion, buddy. Sorry.
Dude. Oh my God.
How did
Sure.
How did you feel about the first reveal of the shape, when you first see the shape in the sky?
Oh God.
How do you feel about that?
Well, that's why, like that, and actually Keke Palmer brings it up in an interview, that like she talks about the movie The Mist also, and how much she loves it, but also that like, yeah, like I felt like it did have a lot of parallels to Jaws, where you're searching the screen. You're really looking for like, where is it? Like, is it gonna pop up in random places? And like, there is a explicit moment where they're trying to find like, explicitly, like OJ's just like, I'm gonna go get Lucky back. I'm gonna go do it. And he goes, and then you just see that he's just like, cool, I'm just gonna go get Lucky. Is there anybody around? Okay, and he's not even thinking about the UFO, I don't think. But it's there, and it's like, and you are searching the frame for like, there it is. Oh my God. And like, then it finally like swoops in and gets, like, it tries to get him, and you're like, oh my God. So yeah, like
that to me is frightening alone, where like, one, you're looking for something, but if it catches you, it's fucking fast.
Yeah.
Its
speed freaked me out.
The amount of coverage that thing can get is insano. I wanted to ask you a question. So when they first revealed the saucer, let's just call it the saucer for now. What was his name?
Gene Jacket.
Gene Jacket. When they first revealed Gene Jacket and you see the saucer, and it starts like absorbing, the tornado starts to form and goes. First of all, that's scary.
Yeah.
The thing is going and like just sucking you in.
But then it's like, it's not like technology.
It's not.
It's just a thing breathing.
It's just inhaling you.
Spoilers, it's a beast.
It's a giant monster. It's a giant being that just goes.
Yeah.
And it inhales you, and then just like, how can I say, going back to your sound design, this is what I'm trying to touch upon. When they first reveal it and it's absorbing the horse, did you hear what it sounded like?
No, what did it sound like?
It was reminiscing to it was reminiscent to that.
Like a theremin?
Like literally like woo! Like absorbed, like literally like a little saucer from the 50s with the strings.
That's fair.
It sounded like that to me. I was like, oh my God. And then, oh wait, what am I really hearing? I'm hearing woo, and then the horse, and then the screams of other victims.
Yeah.
Because when it opens its mouth, the victims are still in their fucking.
Dude, oh my God. So
that scene.
If you're claustrophobic, the thing that I find hilarious, crazy about this movie is that not only it takes place in such a huge place that like literally it's so big that you're like, you can't escape.
You can't escape.
That, like, when you're at the farm, you're not going anywhere. Like you can't. But also that it's so agoraphobic. And that like they literally talk about that in a couple interviews. They're like, is this movie just about that? About the idea of like being stuck in a place where you can't escape, and or in a place that's so big. Then they go out of their way to suck up a bunch of people that are completely innocent people, but technically not innocent because they came to see a spectacle. But like, they get sucked up, and you have this perfect, the most claustrophobic thing I've seen in my entire life, and it's so disgusting. And then the person gets sucked up, and then they see the half-digested person above them. You're like,
no, that was the horse. It was the horse carcass.
Oh, was it?
It was a horse carcass.
Regardless.
So this entire scene, it reminded me of what was Fire in the Sky. Have you ever seen Fire in the Sky?
I've heard of it.
The scene where the guy is being dissected by the aliens.
Oh yeah.
And they put like this skin fleshy blanket over him, and he's like, oh, and like it felt like that, but more claustrophobic. They just shoved people into this digestion tract. It looked like all just fibery flesh.
Yep.
Just for the person to go, oh, and look up, and there's a horse carcass right in front of her face, and
I don't even remember what I saw.
You're in the same boat with all those people.
Yep.
And then you just hear.
Yep.
The scream stops, and the thing just goes.
Yep. And the fact that it's like like, oh my god.
Yep. Nope. Not dealing with that.
And oh god, just so gross. But it's also incredible that like, first of all, Jordan Peele, like when making it, he's like, I want to make the great American UFO movie. I don't think it's been done. Like, and not like done, you know. He's just like, I feel like there's a lot left on the table that we could explore. But I also love the fact that like, UFOs are a spectacle too. That you're like always thinking about like, oh my god, what if there's a UFO? But like the idea that there's always these little green men and they have this like agenda, and that they're like literally straight up, Angel says it, where he says like, he's like, they're either here as friends, you know, they're here to help us, or they're here to kill us. But at the end of the day, it's an unthinking, like unfeeling beast.
It's kind of like a shark. It just stalks prey.
Yep.
And decides to attack when it's most opportunistic. Yep. That's it.
And it doesn't understand the difference. And you need to, and the only people that can tame it are the people that have trained for this long to understand, you know, animals and how to actually work with them and respect them and how they work and how they operate and what they need to then get the money shot. But then you have the exact opposite of that in Jupe, who thinks that, oh, just because I fed you a bunch of horses means we're friends now.
Yeah.
Just like the same thing with Jordy.
He even says it before before the spectacle begins. He says like, and like, I know they're my friends because let's admit it, if I wasn't here, I'm pretty sure they would have eaten everything already.
Yeah.
But little does he fucking know, it's kind of like it reminded me of the Velociraptor scene.
Yeah.
Where it's like, let's feed this cow to the Velociraptors and like watch I go. I was like, oh, isn't that great? Yeah. You're next in the menu, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even fucking know.
Yeah.
And like, how can I say? I want to know about that lady with the face.
So
what was up with that? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So you had mentioned, you said that the lady gets like killed during the Gordy thing. I don't think she died. I think that was her. That she got her face beaten and like ripped apart. And that's why he says, Jupe literally says, it's like, we have in the audience, I think it's a really important moment, we have my first crush, who was the girl from that show. And that was her face. That her face was reconstructed to be, you know, like as much as they could. And so he brought her back and put her in harm's way in the use of another spectacle, which is so sad and gross. Yeah. What
the fuck?
Right.
You're so right. Holy shit.
Isn't it so
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And how supportive his wife was, too.
Yeah.
Like, and his kids do it. Okay, so there's this amazing scene where
so good.
OJ's already like, dude, shit's fucking insane.
Yep.
There's a light turning on in like one of the training buildings for other horses, and he walks in and he flicks the light off, and he's like,
oh, gosh.
Okay. Sure, he starts walking backwards, he starts walking away, and then he turns around and we see, how can I say, at first you don't see it, but you see like the face of like the two eyes, and I was like, oh my god, that's fucking horrifying.
And then another time that he says nope.
And he goes, nah, and then the thing like stands up, and you see like, and you see its arms that are starting to move all weird, and you're like, what the fuck? And he pulls up his fucking razor phone, and he's like, I need to get video of this. First of all, I could see people being like, why aren't you calling the cops? Like, first of all, motherfucker, you're 20 minutes away from the city.
Yeah.
No cop is coming over. You might as well just have the evidence and a piece by your side. Especially, it's Cali, I don't know. Anyways, but like, he starts doing his thing. He's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then like a second one comes out of the door. And fucking, it shocked me. That's when I was like, okay, this is looking a little silly.
Yeah.
Because you get to see a little bit closer. You start revealing the monster a little too much. And then
it's like hiding behind the thing and then slowly peering out, like really slowly.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, it started to get me a little bit over there.
Yeah, me too.
And like the only thing you see is like the two like small little eyes at first and you're like, ugh!
Yeah.
And then the third one, he fucking punches and it just goes, bah!
It's like good. And then and I love that they're just like, you don't mess with the Jupiter, I forgot what his last name is. It's like, you don't mess with us. And then they're just like, hey, you don't mess with the Haywoods. And it's just like, you stole their horse. It's like, and like, I love the fact that like, it's because when I was watching the movie, I'm like, this gets rid of so much. This is so stupid. Like when the alien shows up, first of all, I was like, even though it's fake, it like freaked me out so much.
No, it was a chilling scene. Yeah, it was weird.
But then also in my mind, I'm like, well, this defeats the purpose of the movie that we're seeing the aliens like halfway through. Okay, I guess. What are they about? And then when you find out that they're fake, you're like, that's genius. That like he would take that moment to really freak you out and get you to think, but then also realize that it's the only other people in the area just screwing with them because they think that they sold their horse, which they did. So
they're just fucking kids being assholes and that's it.
But also that I love that their version of aliens look like Jordy. They're monkeys, like monkey people.
You're right. They had they basically had like gorilla suits and just the mask and that's it.
Yeah, like there's no depiction of aliens that look like monkeys usually.
Not whatsoever.
No,
they usually
have no hair.
They're usually grays or that's it really.
And it also brings up a little piece of trivia like that Jordan Peele had said that he originally wanted to name the movie, and this was like a silly thing he mentions, that he wanted to name it Little Green Men.
Little Green Men.
And that it was meant to be a misdirect, like, red herring, that the little green men are the, like, money men, you know, the people that want to make money out of people and make them a spectacle, and that they're little and insignificant. But at the same time, he was like, that just reminds me of a 2001 straight to VHS movie. I ain't gonna do that. So, yeah, them showing up and being like these alien creatures and their idea of an alien and making a spectacle of aliens, like having merch of aliens too.
Everything, No, they wanted to sell the whole alien
It's so sad that
thing.
they get sucked up and like literally everybody there is an innocent that's just corralling around one person who misunderstands and doesn't really get what, you know, being respectful is to people and what how a spectacle removes that from you. And that the dude goes out of his way to be like, cool, I want to buy another one of your horses, and he's been doing it for 6 months, and he's just like, well, I want to
feeding it to this thing.
And he says, I want to be on a plan to buy back my horses. And he's just like, yeah, sure, totally, they're totally buy backable.
Yeah, you can You want to see the secret room?
Yeah.
Quick, you want to check?
Like, let me distract you.
People paid $50K just to spend the night in this room.
Yeah, which is like, ugh. Like,
it's a little weird.
That's a really gross.
Was it you? Was it you?
Yeah, and it draws back to the idea of like a terrible, disgusting spectacle of like, wow, you would like revel in a tragedy like that.
A lot of people do that shit. Remember when Princess Diana, when she died?
Oh yeah.
And like how the Beanie Bear had a huge amount of money because it represented her, or like pieces of her automobile, like are being sold and shit. Yeah.
Awful.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, seriously.
It's how can I say? It's a spectacle yet again.
And Steven Yeun in a bunch of interviews even said they're just like, well, what should I watch to get like in the mood for this movie? And Jordan Peele, not to spoil anything, was saying like, well, you know, I wanted this to be a big blockbuster. I wanted to put butts in seats because it is I want it to be a spectacle. I want it to be something that you come and see and you want to be like engrossed in it. So it's just like, so Jaws was the first blockbuster. Go see Jaws, go see Wizard of Oz, go see King Kong, all of the things about spectacle. But then also Steven Yeun said like, the internet. Just go on the internet.
Just go to the internet, yeah.
Yep. And I love it because you don't, like in the interview, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and the interviewer is just like, so you mean just the whole internet? He's like, yeah, just start. He's like, should I start with cat videos or what? He's like trying to poke fun. But he's like, go on Reddit, see all the messed up stuff on there. And it shows like how much that rings true to the movie, that like the whole idea of it is this idea of spectacle and that you are participating in it. And there's something inherent about human beings that we want to see something so gross. And my brother was even telling me, we were talking about the movie, and he's just like, wow, this kind of like screws me up, because earlier today I was on Reddit and blah 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 saw something really gross, and I thought I shouldn't be watching it, but for some reason I just couldn't stop watching. I'm like,
continued, yeah.
Yep.
And like think about all the people who were on the crowd when he was going to sacrifice that horse.
Yeah.
First of all, how do you bring seats to the table, right? How do you bring asses to the fucking seats?
Yeah.
You go, hey, I'm about to sacrifice this horse to a fucking alien.
Yeah.
Gather around, and that's what they fucking did. How else do you sell that?
Yep.
His fucking jacket had the fucking saucer and everything, like.
And it was called the Star Lasso Experience, as if you could lasso and tame the UFO.
Yeehaw!
Yep.
We're gonna tame this UFO. He's gonna come down the mountain. You see that cloud up there? Definitely not made with human gas.
Oh,
definitely not using human particlide to disguise itself.
Yeah.
Shit like that. It's like, dude, no fucking way. This is it's not your friend.
Ugh. Yeah, exactly.
It reminded me of those the people that like they have like a backyard with like the ocean view behind it.
Yeah.
It's like I have a dolphin that visits me every single fucking day and I feed him fishes and shit like that. Yeah. That dolphin is not your fucking friend.
No.
That dolphin, you're a food receptacle.
Exactly.
That's it.
A joke I mentioned to my brother was that it's like Bane, where he's just like, but I fed you every day. He's like, this gives you power over me.
This gives you power.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's just like exactly that. That's just like you can't, and that he has a complete misunderstanding of the relationship, and that everybody else like that's trying to coordinate and get footage, just get footage of it. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to be that like capture it. They're just like, we just want footage. We just want to see it and have proof that we're not crazy and that like what we're doing. But also to get out of poverty, we need to have a version of this spectacle that we can sell, because we're just down on our luck. Straight up. And I mean, like, Thomas Jefferson, kind of a good like parallel for this, that like the idea of generational wealth. That's a big issue, and I don't mean to get political very much, but the idea that like a lot of people are struggling because their like ancestors were denied like not only a future but any sort of like equity, and that now people are just like, well, why don't pull yourself by your bootstraps? Which is also, pull yourself by your bootstraps is literally impossible. The phrase was meant to be that. My brother will talk ad nauseum about it. But also the fact that like, people have been denied generational wealth, and we see that with their dad, that their dad worked his ass off to make this happen. But he was the owner of it, and that nobody else, his children kind of embody the two versions of himself that he had to be. Not only the technical guy that knew everything about horses, but also the showman, and that Emerald is kind of the showman, and OJ is the technical guy that only cares about the horses, and that like they need each other to do it. But it's so sad that it's just like, well, we don't have anything else. There's nothing else but this house and these horses, and that at the end of the day we need money. And
it's where we're gonna run to, like he says. What are we gonna do? There's nothing.
And they need it out of necessity. They need this film. Jupe has more money than he can do with, He's just finding stuff to do.
And with Emerald, she's constantly been running, as far as I know. Like, the movie makes it clear that she's constantly been running away from whatever problems have been following her.
Exactly.
Either she's running away physically or with her vape. It doesn't matter. She's fucking running away.
Exactly.
And OJ being the person who's like down to earth. I have to do this. I have to take care of the horses.
Literally says, there's always work to be done.
There's always work to be done. And she's like, nah.
I'm out.
Like, I'm out. Like, nope.
And it's such a good moment at the very end, the most cathartic thing for her, that the entire time she's kind of been the director. She's watching all the film stuff. Same thing with Angel. Angel's just kind of helping out. He's being the assistant camera for the DP. And that then you have this moment where she's just like, no, I got to be in it. She gets on that motorcycle. Which we'll talk about the TMZ guy in a moment. And then she takes the reins and she like drives off, leads it away, and coordinates this entire moment herself, where she can get the money shot and hones it. She takes responsibility, and it is at the crescendo, at the very end of the movie, where it solidifies her arc of actually being responsible and doing something that she knows that she needs to do, even though
with his help too.
Exactly, and he's supporting her, and he's like, doing the great moment.
I know you got me, and I got you. Just know that.
Exactly.
Like, it's awesome.
Yep. And there's a theory, I don't like this theory, and I don't want to give it credence, but that OJ died at the end, and that they view him through the frame that says out yonder.
Yeah.
And that's what it says over him. I think that's stupid. I think that he just shows up and he's positioned just like their great-great-great-grandfather. And so he's meant to be in a frame, you know?
Stepped up.
And that he is finally embodied and is fully realized as the redemption of their great-great-grandfather. And same thing with her. And
so, just to support your theory, I also think he's alive because he was the first one to know what to do with the creature. Don't look at its eyes. Yeah. And he was first of all camouflaged as the fucking wacky inflatable tube man, which the creature does not want to eat.
Which is such a great good visualization of where it is. Yeah.
Seriously, it's amazing.
Like on the ground, it's like
it lets you know exactly where it is without looking at it.
Yeah, it's so smart. But then also, fun little Easter egg that Jordan Peele, in a couple of interviews, said, like, one interview I really liked, which I found funny, I think it was with Collider, where he says, like, what would be a thing that you want to adapt the most? And Jordan is like, what's your dream movie? And Jordan's like, I'm not going to tell you, because what if I get it? I don't want you to have the scoop. But then also, he said, like, it's incumbent upon me to make my personal movies. These are movies that these are my stories that I want to put out here. And I think that are important, so much so that Nope is going to get a Universal ride, apparently.
Yeah, that's dope.
But also, he's one thing that he said right after that was like, you know, early in my career, I thought about that. I thought about like what I would want to adapt. And I thought like, you know, Akira would be really cool. Like, I love Akira.
Mm-hmm. You know the shot.
Yep. And he even said, he's just like, I love Akira, but Akira's perfect. Why would I do that? Mm-hmm. Like, it's perfect unto itself. Why would I want to try to recapture that in live action? Well, he did it in the most impactful way. Because Akira has been adapted 1,000,000 times in animation, not too many times in visual, in like an actual live action.
Yeah.
Not only does he do it with such a cool style, but it is a black woman on a white bike with a bunch of police tape around her. Like,
she goes through the police tape
in IMAX.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, it's such a perfect moment of just like, this is it. This is the, like, he literally said, he's just like, I'd be stupid not to do it.
Yeah,
he's like, I wanted to do it. I thought I should do it. Like, I'd regret not doing it. But also just like, that's him. He's making these, he says, he's like, these movies aren't explicitly about race.
Yeah.
But it comes through. Like, I ascribe to the fact that every story is autobiographic.
Yeah.
It comes from your experience, and that's the point. And so for him, he's like, they leak in. But that one in particular, the Akira one, he's just like, it's such a beautiful moment, like, of seeing her on it and doing that. And she's like so angry and like ready.
It's the most crucial moment of the movie too.
Yes.
Where like she finally makes the decision, I'm gonna fucking do something.
Yep.
And just the animatic fucking goes through the police tape.
Yep.
First of all, that shot was fucking just, it wasn't exactly like the Akira one.
Yeah.
But it was so beautifully done, made.
Perfect.
As soon as I saw it,
dust.
like as soon as I saw it, I my girl was right next to me. I went like, like I did like that, and she just.
I can picture her doing exactly.
You don't get. You don't get okay. You don't
so
get
good.
it.
Oh, man, it's so good, and especially a lot that leads into the money shot that she gets, and how much it is that like that they had, like, you know, another like spectacle, another thing that you come to an amusement park to do, but also that my brother said, I don't know if this is true, but he said that like she puts in coins in there. I thought they were tokens just from the place, but I think that he was saying that they could have been nickels, so the nickel comes back. I don't know about that. But I think it's the whole point where like a Nickelodeon, it's the idea that you feed a token in to do a thing. But also that she's using this eye to capture another eye, you know? And that the whole idea of like, well, it's a UFO, but it is an eye, and the idea that it is looking at us as we are looking back at it, but it's still like a Lovecraftian beast where if you look at it, it gets upset.
Yeah, and it has emotion, it has feeling. There's a reason why that creature, once it finds out that they're under the house, it shits on the house.
Yeah,
like there's a reason.
It's bleaking blood.
Blood. Hey, remember your dad? Remember all their friends? That's all you.
Yeah.
This is what you live with now. Fuck you. And give me horse. And like,
well, and I love that they have the like, it's like kind of like out of the side of its mouth that the flag. You know, that's coming down from it. Which amazing visual for the trailers and the posters, but also the fact that like that he's like, okay, cool, the house isn't doing anything, I'm gonna go over to OJ. And then when he goes over to OJ, OJ is like smart, and like everybody else that watches a horror movie is like, no, you can't get me in this car, whatever. And so it's just like beckoning him out, and he's like, nope. And then he hits the lock, and then the only thing it can do to retaliate, and he knows, is that it spits out
that horse.
Yeah, the horse.
Finally.
And he's like, well, damn, but okay. And then it leaves, and that's it. And it's like, he realizes, he's just like, I do have cards to play, and there's no reason why I need to.
There's a set of ground rules that the beast has implemented on us, and we just have to fucking survive it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we better make the best that we can do with it, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I better do an Akira move and spend money and so the whole thing with the well, to me, it was more on it was more on the fact that the amount of work, the amount of hope, the amount of just
it's like a physical activity,
just the amount of everything that you're putting into something that might not even fucking work.
Yeah.
Because like on that shot, the fucking the well itself, it's in the shot, it's in the way.
Yeah, like the big
big beam, the fucking how silhouetted it is, everything about it. It might not even fucking work. There was a cloud in the way too.
Yeah,
all this other shit. It might not fucking work. And she just, I'm running out of quarters, or whatever she says. Like, I'm running out.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I can keep it going.
And it becomes this giant big plaque, you know? It's this big embroidered on gold, even though, you know, it's a silly attraction. And that she's like, she's working on it. She pulls up this big balloon, this big hollow version of a jupe that's full of just air, and that will, you know, it's this false thing, you know? And the jean jacket, literally, so she says at the beginning, she's like, hey, jean jacket was supposed to be mine, and I was supposed to train it, but then you trained it. He's like, you remember that, right? And he does that like when he was a kid. He's just like, yeah, that's for the Scorpion King. Ended up using a camel.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
And that like her opportunity was taken from her because of the expediency of a spectacle. That they're like, we're making this spectacle movie. We need a horse. Turns out to be they want a camel. So she didn't even get to break it in. She lost out on responsibility when she was a kid. So then she gets this opportunity. He calls a jean jacket to be like, this is your moment. You can have it. And she does have it. And that it reveals itself. It unfurls from this UFO into basically a cloud made of film. You know, made of like these strips.
I could see that,
and that its eye is completely visible, and it's just this green square, you know, like this.
Unfolding constantly.
Yeah, and it's like flashing and opening, and it's like beautiful, and that like, it hones in on the big jupe balloon and then explodes. But also something that my brother brought up is that like, it's probably lighter than, like, I don't know how the physics of this thing, but like it billows out that fog to conceal itself, but when it explodes, it kind of drifts away. So it's like, is there even though not of planet Earth, it could be an extraterrestrial. If these things died in the past, they could just be a floating thing in the sky.
There could be multiple.
They could just hide in clouds, you know.
Who's to say that all the other clouds that weren't moving weren't just passing by?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like a kind of like a sea of fish.
Yeah.
Like just never touching each other, but passing by constantly. God. Also, that's a weird visual. All clouds moving except for one.
Yeah.
That's eerie. That's eerie as all hell.
Seriously.
Especially when you pull up in especially when you look at it through a shitty CCTV camera
and like
or whatever, and you're just like, like the cloud has even changed shape.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking weird. And the film guy notices it. He's like, hey, what did that move?
He's like, yep, you're right. That has not moved. But I love that also solidifies two things for Angel, where one, he's just like, he calls, he's like, hey, there's a bug on the thing. And they're just like, we told you not to spy on us. And he's just like, and then later on, like, runs in, he's like, you guys don't know? And then he shows them the thing. And I appreciate that about Angel, that he's just not like, he comes off as this kind of like, down on his luck, but also kind of stonery, like, dead-end guy, but he's like technical. He knows what he's doing. He's a very current version.
Just like them, he's not getting the respect he deserves.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially from the job, and like, it's so interesting that like
his manager literally walking by, not even saying goodnight, just and leaves frame. Is like, what the fuck, you dude? Like.
And I love that he and Emerald kind of like link on the idea that they're both hustling. Like, you know, they're and not hustling in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like, we're millennials
trying to fucking make money.
Yeah, exactly. Just trying to live your life and do something that will get you to a comfortable place.
Yes.
And that literally at the beginning, Emerald says just like, I also cater, and I do this, and I do that, and I make a good grilled cheese, and I ride a motorcycle, and that plants some stuff for later. But also the fact that like Angel is, he's trying to like be like, oh, you guys have a, he even says in the interviews and like his idea for the character early on that they incorporate is that he's looking for a come up, and then he's just like, oh, you guys have like a thing you're doing? Okay, maybe I can get in on this. And he does, but primarily that he, like when they visit his house, has a Bitcoin mining rig.
Yeah, that's what that was. Okay, cool. I knew it.
Just all these graphics cards.
And the fans blowing on it. Yeah, okay, good.
And exactly, that he's just hustling. He's trying to make something work.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that like every character has these layers to them of like their intent, what they want, what they're trying to do, and what they're trying to get out of everything.
You know what's funny too? So in that scene where they're in their house or whatever, you see the outside of his window.
Yeah.
You know what those are the roofs of? Those are studios.
Are you serious?
He's constantly looking at rich people, constantly looking at actors. Those are studio roofs.
Oh my God.
That shape of roof and whatnot, those are studios.
Damn. So he's just like right across the street from a set.
He's literally right across the street from a set or something like that, and he's constantly probably looking at these people going...
Yeah.
God knows what he's thinking. Just thinking to himself, damn it, I have to go to my fucking job.
Yep.
Mine for Bitcoin. All these. Like that kind of thing.
I appreciate though that at the end of the day, like, both, it's so good that Emerald and OJ like rally a couple people around them because they're like, this is a spectacle, but we're doing it in a way that is the most practical, even though it's really dangerous, and really, frankly, something we shouldn't be messing with. But everybody's just like, I'll get on board because I want, the end product, but I also I appreciate that like Jupe can rally all of these people around them because they trust that he'll protect them, or that he's safe, or
that he knows that he knows what he's doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we realize he really doesn't. But also that they do know what they're doing, and they're like, well, I'll corral a couple of people. And it does kind of remind me of those big sets where, some people will talk a big game and be like, yeah, no, I'm putting on this thing. Here's my big idea. Here's what I'm doing. And then, when push comes to shove, a lot of people corral around them and they're all like believing in the person. But at the same time, that person might not have the most solid idea. I'm not saying that person's bad, and I'm not saying that what they're doing is, whatever. But then you see this group that have spent the time, that are thinking about it, that understand the situation, and it's just like, okay, cool. I'm more on board with you guys. And if it wasn't for that DP idiot, then they would have gotten the shot, and it would have been fine, and they all would have been fine.
Yeah.
And even though, there's a moment where OJ can be a total asshole, and the TMZ guy shows up, and he's wearing, when I first saw the trailer, and the dude wearing the chrome, I was like, oh, that's like the FBI or something, or whatever. And when he shows up with the camera, and he's saying all these invasive questions, you're like, oh, he knows stuff. And then it turns out he's like, it's TMZ! And he's and the guy's a total asshole, spouting YOLO and World Star, trying to go get whatever. He doesn't even know what's happening, but he just wants to film something.
He doesn't know what laws he's even breaking.
He's trespassing.
He's trespassing, fucking destruction of property. If you're revving your fucking bike on that road, that's destruction of property, dude.
Yep. And then he becomes a spectacle. Because he was either Angel or Emerald's just like, you know what happens to a motorcycle when the power cuts out? And then he just...
An electric motorcycle, Yep.
And he's just like, ah! And he's just screaming the whole time, wailing
Can you get a video? Can you get a video? He says, can you get a picture? And
he's like, you can use my camera, it's okay. And he wants to be a spectacle, too.
Yeah.
And that then he's... OJ's like, let me just save you by picking you up. And then he's like, no, I gotta this or that, da. And then, he's just like, okay, if you don't want to be saved. And then, Jean Jacket shows up. And it's another victim to spectacle. It's amazing. And there's just
another victim to the big eye in the sky, wanting to look at you.
Yeah,
Don't look it back.
Nope.
He doesn't like being noticed.
Nope. But yeah, I love this movie just for how much. I swear, everybody in the comments, there's probably so many other readings that I'm not even remotely tapped into, that Jordan Peele didn't even think about doing, none of the actors thought about, and that it's so incredible to me how much layering and symbolism this movie has that we've talked about and just gone from point to point to point. But there's still so much more, because the movie, at the end, literally Jordan Peele in an interview says the more you watch it, it's about humanity. And the more you think about all of his movies but this one in particular, tugs on that part of you that wants to know, that is just always inquisitive about stuff. And I think for everybody, this will have a different reading for the own part of your brain that is weirdly, morbidly, insidiously curious, you know? So.
Because at the end, I mean, how can I say, curiosity found them.
Yeah,
you know, like they didn't want
what's out there, the X-Files, you know,
like they didn't want any of that shit happening. If it wasn't for if Jean Jacket wasn't there, this would be a story about a man losing his fucking his entire farm, his entire farm, his dad, all of his horses and shit like that, and dealing with Emerald, who wants to constantly run away from just the pain, everything that she's been through and whatnot. Yeah. But like, how can I say? To me, it felt more like a how can I say? The story of just. It felt like an adult E.T. I kept on saying adult E.T.
Okay.
Where like once you knew that okay, this is an alien movie, this is basically a UFO. They even mentioned it's like remember when people like were so into the UFOs and then the government said they're real and everyone lost fucking like
and then they call them
UAPs or whatever the fuck or whatever stuff like that. It's shit situation, a very nope situation, but you can't nope from it. Yeah. You just can't walk away. You have to fucking do something. You have to do something. You got nothing left. It sucks. I liked it.
Me too.
Where would you put it in the 3 movies?
Shit, that's hard because I would say that Us I really liked for a lot of reasons that are socioeconomical and like about how we treat each other and how we treat like people that we don't understand and stuff like that. And that Get Out is just such a perfect little movie. But I would say honestly, if I'm like right now, don't quote me in 6 months, but I'd put this pretty high, if not the first one. It'd probably be right now I'd probably put it like Nope, Us, Get Out. Honestly, I think he keeps getting better in my opinion. In the comments, let us know what you guys think. Like which level you think? What do you think?
I think I agree with you. I think this should be on the top things. Mostly because, and how can I say this? It's because of the environment. I feel. Yeah. Where how can I say? Jordan, he said himself like, I don't see myself casting white people and stuff like that. And people fucking were like, what the fuck? Why would you do? And they were just mad at him for him saying like, I'm a director and I want to direct how I want to direct. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. But for this, how can I say, people are too infatuated in finding a malicious, deeper meaning with like, oh my God, a black director only having like a black cast and stuff like that. And how can I say, I feel like I'm digging a hole. Hold on. Sure. Well, and like people are like just a little too infatuated with that. And this one feels more like a UFO movie. Like he wanted to make an actual this is a better Signs to me. Sure. Personally. Yeah. In which the other ones I feel like people would be like, oh, too many political shit. It's like fuck you, dude. It has nothing to do with that.
In particular, I mean like it's so different than any other UFO movie because it's like, oh, the UFO and the big threat is not intelligent. It's just an animal. But also the fact that like I would lend some credence to the fact that like I said, these are very personal for Jordan. And he has a lot of personal ideas. I mean, I don't know him, but I assume that like based on a lot of the stuff that he talks about is like this is about the black experience and about like how his entire life has and his knowledge about like a lot of these things has informed his work. Yeah. And it's one thing to say like, you know, oh, if you could cast a white actor over a black actor, why would you blah blah blah? But in these movies, it's impactful. The fact that like OJ and Emerald are both black people that are more or less trying to redeem the terrible injustice and disrespect and spectacle that their great-great-great-grandfather was made of, that their father was made out of, that all of these things that like they're trying to reclaim their lives from this street in like this chain of disrespect.
Reclaim their lives from a territorial being who you cannot even look in the eyes.
Yeah, like racism. I'm kidding. I don't even.
like I mean.
Yeah.
You can't even fucking disrespect it, I guess.
Or else that's another rating. It could be that. I don't know. Yeah.
It could be all of these things, right?
Yeah.
But like I feel like how can I say, people should have just viewed shit like that. Yeah. Go watch the movie. Fucking get your own interpretation out of it. Yeah. And like if the director says yes, it is about that. Guess what? it is. Just fucking deal with it and watch the movie. That's it. Just enjoy it.
And I'm a big believer in death of the author. It's okay if it's not about that and your take didn't see that.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, I mean, like, Jordan Peele has gone on record consistently saying, like, it's incidental a lot of the time that, like, especially Us. He said, like, Us is like, it doesn't matter that they're black. It really does. And it doesn't. In the film, it really doesn't. Yeah, but primarily that, like, this movie, he's just like, that's not incidental, that they are, but since they are, it draws a lot of interest and attention to where they are, what their family's about, what all that's about. And I think that, you definitely just go see the movie and make your own opinion. I don't know how many people are really, like, at Jordan's throat about a lot of these things.
It's just the internet sucks sometimes.
Exactly. And that's the problem, is that the internet overall is seriously this whole thing of, like, spectacle and how much we can get clicks and views because things are, morbid, and we all get into this really deep, terrible, doom scrolly mindset of, like, what's the next thing that I can see that will draw my attention and make me feel something. And it's sad. It's like, people want to feel something, and half the time is anger.
It's like, why are you searching for anger, dude? Like, there's no reason for it.
I think right before we go into the trivia, something that I really like that Keke Palmer brought out in interviews is the fact that she said the movie has this idea of, like, how much we fixate on these terrible, weird, awful spectacle things when we could, just like in Everything Ever All at Once, be grateful for the things that are around us, for our family, for our friends, in all of these situations that we can focus on more than we focus on this spectacle. And why Jordan Peele also said the movie is about these brother and sister reconnecting. And it really is. And at the end of the day, it's about family.
It is.
Yeah. And so, I love this movie, and I love all of the themes that we've gone over, and there's so many more. And I think, I don't know how much I really have to go over, because we've gone, like, the trivia.
Yeah,
like,
well, how about, let's go into, like, some trivia.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, is I don't know how much I have left to say, because we've talked about, like, I've just tried to slip it in every once in a while. But yeah, he said it's about humanity, how making nature a spectacle.
Yeah. If that's supposed to be California, that's the most unrealistic California. It has rained way too much.
Yep.
There's a lot of rain in that movie.
Man, that rain sequence is really good. And also, apparently, the dude riding the horse was taken in Palo Alto, like in California. That clip was made in California, which is also really genius.
Yeah.
They bring up the Fry's electronic place, and it has the UFO, a couple of different foreshadowing. I really love the parallelism between Gordy is, the balloon pops, and then he, like, kind of goes and then gets killed because of that whole sequence, and that jean jacket is killed by a balloon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When I first saw that, I kind of chuckled.
Yep.
Because, like, jean jacket inhales the giant human-shaped fucking balloon that was Jupe, basically.
Yeah, Jupiter.
And he absorbs it, and it's a far away shot. You just see it go and continue to float away.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
It pops. And also that Jupiter as Jupiter's claim that, like, if we think of it as a UFO from Jupiter, that it's claiming this land, it's territorial. So that's kind of foreshadowing Jupiter's claim, and that Jupiter, like, his name is Jupiter, as if he's, like, trying to be like, I understand it. I'm from there,
I'm its friend.
Exactly.
I feed it.
Yep. And then we have the parallels to Jaws go a little bit deeper. That we have the person that's already, like, cautious about it.
Yeah.
But then we have the DP comes in similarly to that old fisherman.
Yeah.
And then he gets killed, and so the main character has to go in and get the photo themselves, just like in Jaws, he has to go and he has to kill the shark. So a few parallels there, and they were intentional. And while I was watching the movie, I'm just like, it feels like Jaws. And then when I saw in the interviews, it was like, Jaws. I'm like,
Jaws, yeah.
Cool.
When you walked out of the theater, did you look up at the sky?
Yesterday I was driving to Tampa. On the way, like, the clouds were perfectly, like, those individual clouds. I'm like, nope, fuck that. No, I hate that.
I'm not leaving.
I'm like, I'm so mad. I hate this. I hate looking at it. But then also that, when on the way back, it was, like, rainy and all the, like, I got this great picture of, like, the clouds were all billowing, and I'm like, I hate this. But also the fact that, like, The thing that I like about the movie, Jordan Peele even mentioned, is like, this is my horror movie for all the people that don't like horror movies, where like it's very tense, but there's also the comedy, and that's about something a little bit more interesting and will
half
get
of it
you.
is during the daylight too.
Yeah. And that if you're in your car, you're fine. It's not going to eat you, so that's fine. Like I thought that
good.
was
I like
yeah.
that.
You know, we're not out and about too much without her, like in a way that it would eat us. Just that specific location was like really perfect for the movie, and apparently. Jordan Peele said, like, when we're talking about ambition, it was his hardest movie to film because he's like, it was hot and dusty as fuck. So apparently, he was just really hard on the cast and crew, and he's like, and I thank them every day for how much they brought a positive attitude to this shitty location.
Dude, I don't know how OJ did it wearing 3 jackets.
Yeah.
Like jeans, boots, working on the farm. Fuck all that.
Yeah, man.
I'm with her. I'm with her sister. I ain't doing all that shit. Fuck that heat.
Another quick thing that they brought up is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one of the early UFO movies, and that it's like a nice alien. But also that the key thing from the movie was the da 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 da, you know, is like the little motif for the aliens in Close Encounters. I don't know if I misheard it, but there's a moment where Angel is wrapping himself in barbed wire so that he can stay on the ground and that it won't suck him up. And when it's sucking him up, the barbed wire starts like pulling on itself. It's just making like a twang noise. It almost sounded like da 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 da.
Oh, really?
That was what I heard. I don't know, but I'm just saying that like I mean, it was like, that's a cute Easter egg if that's what that is. So that moment I thought was like kind of cute and also smart on him, like a good moment. Yeah, I mentioned that people said that OJ could be dead at the end. I think that ruins the movie, frankly.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead at the end.
I think it's just one of those posturing of just like, okay, well, this would be a cool thing to think about, but I really don't think. And I don't know if it ruined the movie, but overall, that kind of thing. I already mentioned the thing about how you had already like thought of it that the great-great-great-grandfather, where she's like, my great-great-grandfather is like another great because she was just copying her father's tape, and that it's kind of like sad but also cute that like, you know, that moment that she's really trying to emulate her father, but OJ's actually responsible and understands it. Like, it's the other great like that you mentioned. That Pops dies on the horse called Ghost, which is kind of interesting. He basically gets lobotomized. Keith David, the guy that plays him, in an interview, Jordan Peele said this. I don't know. I checked on IMDb, but I didn't look too hard. Do you know what the first movie Keith David was in?
What?
The Thing.
Really?
At least from what I saw, it was The Thing. And so that's why I love that it's his pedigree to be in these horror movies, and that Jordan Peele was just like, I am such a huge fan. I would love to have him in that movie. And then he also then worked on to They Live. So like he's just kind of, it just makes sense. It's just such a perfect casting and like a really good idea to put him in the movie. Yeah, I talked about the 5-cent coin and kind of what it means, the Nickelodeon, but also it has Thomas Jefferson on it. Let me see here. It's Scorpion King. I don't know how much symbolism is in Scorpion King.
I think it's the whole fucking like how she thought that you took my opportunity, all this other stuff for something that at the end it didn't even fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, they wanted camels. Like it was honestly good that you didn't train it, because honestly it would have been one of those moments where like you would have gotten pissed, like, what the fuck you mean you're using camels after everything I've done?
Yeah, like, seriously. But then also the fact that he wears the orange jump kind of thing that he's wearing is actually a shirt from Scorpion King. It says Scorpion King on it.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't even notice that.
So that's why good. I'm like, I don't know how much symbolism actually supposed to be there, or if it was just like a cool thing that they put in. But also the fact that he, that was a theory that people kept saying, is that was in the trailer, that jacket. So people were saying like, okay, he has a fucking Scorpion King sweater that literally says the year 2001 on it. He's on a flip phone. What the fuck? Is this like a thing? I guess it means that he's like living in the past, I guess. But, you know, like as a Easter eggs and things in there, everybody in the, like, that was theorizing was just like, this has to take place in the 2000s. And there were a couple fun theories. I'll link the Vanity Fair video about it, where they talk about fan theories. But a lot of them are just their own cool ideas for movies. Like one of them is that since the UFO is kind of this giant eye, that they would be in like a little terrarium or a menagerie, and that they're tiny people. There's another one that they're that they're actually aliens and that they forgot that they're aliens and that they're on Earth. And I'm just like, shit, these are all cool. And literally all the actors are just like, send me your script.
Send me your script, let me see it.
Yeah, exactly. God, that scene where like Gordy comes up and does the like fist bump, it's haunting. Just for like that child actor in the film is incredibly good. That he's like freaking out, and then in the earlier scene, you see that he has blood on his face, but in that shot, he doesn't have the blood yet. So you're like, oh, what happens? Like, how does he get blood on his face?
Yeah.
And it's because Gordy got shot. So,
literally right in front of his eyes.
Yeah, so beautiful foreshadowing and use of that. But then also that he's reliving that moment with like a smile on his face, you know? When they flash back.
Oh, yeah, he's just...
Yeah. And that his wife then comes over and puts the...
cowboy hat
looks like a UFO. The cloud kind of looked a little bit like a cowboy hat too, but then also like puts it on his head, and he has that moment of like she's trying to. Weirdly enough, he's entombed himself in not only all these other things that show that he's like a showbiz guy, you know, like we said, he's like in a mausoleum, but also the fact that like his family is about it. Like he's built this life about spectacle. So there's not like a easy way that he would even be able to get out of it. And something that Stephen Yeun said that I love is that Jupiter is asking, like whenever he goes and visits them and talks to them, he's asking for help but doesn't know how to say it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, to his not to his fault or whatever, it makes it kind of difficult to yell out what you're trying to,
exactly. It's such a good scene. Like,
and like he grabs his green poster and flies off. And like,
and then it shows back up in a pile of manure.
Yeah, just pile of just. Was it manure or was it like? Was it?
I thought it was poop. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, so right. Yeah.
And the use of like eyes. So not only eyes as a spectacle. Guess what's the word for glasses? Spectacles. Wow. But also the fact that like the use of eyes, how much they use it in the movie, but the idea that like you can't look it in the eye, like an animal, you can't look certain animals in the eye or else they feel territorial, which that thing does. So it's just amazing. We talked about the Star Lasso experience, as they're trying to lasso the UFO, but it can't be tamed.
Nope.
Because holy shit, it's a giant fucking...
It's an entity.
Yeah. And the archetype that he was a small, chubby Asian boy, so they made a spectacle of him for Jupe.
That's probably why he did this entire thing. It's because his entire life, that's all he's known.
His character is probably my favorite because of not only how many layers of it, but he is the perfect epitome of the entire idea that like Hollywood chewed him up and spat him back out and used this person, and he is the direct like result of it, you know? Like he is the perfect. This person's 8 layers deep and they don't know it.
That's all he knows is showbiz, a spectacle, whatever. And I don't know, if you ask me, to me, I think he was hoping for something. I think he was hoping for something crazy. Because like, when was the last time he got all this attention? Is when the Gordy incident or afterwards and stuff like that. So why, how can I say, as being a kid and only understanding that, taking that, why wouldn't you take that with you as an adult? Just like, I guess I have to make a spectacle out of my life or else people won't respect me and shit like that.
And that's something else that I really appreciate about the movie. And I've yelled about how it's about attention, about spectacle. But there are good and bad types of attention. You know, there's the attention you get from a spectacle where you're now famous and everybody looks at you as this weird shrine to a character you played once on screen. Case in point, Daniel Kaluuya said that he cannot go and order Starbucks or coffee or tea without somebody doing the stirring thing from Get Out. And it's just like, and he's like, oh, I respect it. Like, but he's just like, yeah, no, I get it. Like, cool, good, game recognized game. But at the end of the day, like, it's also just that. There's just like you can't undo that thing that the universe creates you as this character. You're no longer a person, but you're a spectacle. Versus the type of attention you get from like family members or from friends, where you're like, hey, you good? Like, how are you doing? Let's just watch a movie. Let's hang out. Let's spend time together and be people. Versus that type of attention that you get from an audience. It's not the same. It's one's fulfilling, the other one's kind of, you know, I really just love that line that the DP says is like, this mountain you're trying to climb, I'm at the top, and it's not great. And I love that. It's so good.
It's not what you think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. I love the fact that, they're shooting on film cameras because of electricity, and it harkens back to that first clip of the dude on the horse. And just a lot of intelligent use of symbolism and like aliens, that they're primitive instead of like this intelligence.
Yeah.
That, the alien itself is just kind of a beast, and it's not actually, we ascribe a lot of intelligence to horrific events. Like, how did this happen? What happened? But at the end of the day, it's like, this is just a force of nature.
Why would you ever assume a tsunami did it on purpose? It's like, no, the tsunami didn't want to become evil and destroy your city. It's nothing like that. It was just hungry and wanted to eat your horses.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that we ascribe the same thing to, like, a group of people, that they become like this big mob and stuff like that.
Do you feel like Jupiter, do you feel like he attracted the thing?
So, kind of, from what he mentions in that, like, his monologue, is that he says, like, oh, we were gifted with this moment and it ate the horse. But I think that he attracted it after, because for the 6 months he was feeding it. But I think the first thing was a complete accident, and then he just thought, how do I make this into a spectacle? How do I bring other people into this moment that I'm so excited about? But he didn't really think of, like, oh fuck, like, what the fuck, a fucking UFO?
Two different approaches to the same problem.
Yeah, and especially that he was like, oh, it's an intelligence that we're feeding. And that's the thing that I find interesting, is that he thought there were little green men or whatever, the monkey people. But at the same time, he's feeding it horses. Like, he's treating it like, it's requiring animalistic things.
Exactly.
And acting like an animal, but he's still ascribing this intelligence, similar to Gordy, where he's just like, Gordy almost killed 2 people, but instead comes over to him and gives him a fist bump. He's like, oh no, it gets me. I get it. But it doesn't. He's ascribing this intelligence that isn't there.
Yeah. Wishful thinking.
Yep. And then also the last thing that I wanted to kind of mention is how I did really appreciate the symbolism behind the family business and the family working together and rekindling their friendship, and what their entire family is based off of, which was the horse training, and that you can kind of tell that the siblings don't really have too much in common at all.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, they just don't get each other. But at the same time, something that Kiki and Daniel have mentioned in interviews is that, and same thing that Jordan mentioned, and it's really nice, is that he's like, this movie is built on these 2 actors and their connection to each other and how well they build that chemistry, that even though they have nothing in common, they do still have those moments of, like, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, I get you more than the other one does. Like, there's an explicit moment that, like, really triggered me in a weird way, and not in a bad way, but that, like, at the beginning where they're walking to the ranch, and she's just like, he's like, oh, you're gonna come up to the ranch, and he assumes that she's gonna, like, do some work, and she's like, no, I need to pick some stuff up. And when she gets there, she's, like, pushing him and, like, really, like, on him and, like, doing all these, like, teasing stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I hate that. And it made me feel, I'm like, shit, I'm OJ. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was like shit like that where it's just like, I get it. And like those things that draw you into their relationship, in their friendship, in their just like family relationship, and how much it just is beautiful at the end where you see that they start working together more, and it took this terrifying, horrible experience for them to re-link up and become a unit again. And that, like I had mentioned, they both kind of, one's the super ego, the really, I need to be in control and I need to tame these animals. And the other one's the id that's just following all of these like addictions and all of these things that feel good. But that they both come together into like one, they learn from each other. Yeah. And at the end, like, what's his name? OJ makes a couple of decisions that he wouldn't have made that aren't pragmatic. But he learned from his sister and is like kind of more cool, while Emerald learns to take responsibility. And that's the very last thing that happens. She gets the money shot. So
and she gets the Oprah shot. It's a
people think that, oh no, OJ's dead. What a terrible ending, like that theory. I think this film honestly has a weirdly dark ending, just like Whiplash. Like, you remember Whiplash?
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
The end of Whiplash is like this cathartic moment where both the student and the teacher work in this synergy and create one of the most badass like drum moments ever. But the teacher won. The piece of shit teacher won because now he has power over that kid.
Yeah.
I think something similar happened at the end of this movie where they get their spectacle, and now they do have the shot. One of two things happen. One, nobody believes them, it's a UFO shot. Or two, they get it, and now they have a lot of money, but they're now a spectacle. They are the UFO people.
They're the UFO people. They became Jupe, basically.
Exactly.
Where they're like, okay, now we're no longer selling horses. We're selling this fucking UFO picture now.
But at the end of the day, though, I do think that it is bittersweet. Because the sweet part is they now have each other.
Yeah.
And that they are a family unit. And I think that that's the important part.
It would have never gotten that Akira shot. We would have never gotten it.
It's so good. Oh, God, it's so good. Dude, I can't stop thinking about that shot.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's everything in my notes. I think, honestly, the trivia that we got to at the end wasn't as exciting as just all the stuff we laid out throughout our entire talk about how much we love this movie. So, yeah, I am super stoked. Sorry if my raspy voice is grating, but
People love the raspiness.
They look at when a man talks to them like this.
Yeah, when the DP is saying I'm on a mountain and I'm going to go make an eclair for my family.
And I'm gonna eat it in front of the people who I love. Just me though.
But what a perfect voice. It's really funny looking at the IMDb of all these people.
Yeah.
And also the Jordan Peele. I love that, but I hate to say it, but like a bunch of, like the spectacle of all these interviews and why I said it sickens me is because they're spectacles, all of the interviews. So it's just like, oh, this is antithetical to the movie. But also the fact that literally in the interviews, they ask them, they're just like, why this cast? And you're Jordan Peele. You can have anybody you want.
Yeah.
And it's just like him saying, it's like, well, I don't wanted these people. Like, you're making it sound like these people aren't worthy of me.
You made it sound like I was stuck with these guys.
Yeah. But then also, I feel bad because Brandon Perea that plays Angel, is sitting there. And like in one of the interviews explicitly, they're just like, this is such a star-studded cast. Academy Award winner, Emmy Award winner, Academy nominee.
A guy from Target.
Like legit. And he's just like, and they're like, well, what do you think about this? And he's just like, how do you feel about this for your career? He's like, it's great. He's been on the OA before, which is like a Netflix show. But he's like, no, I think this is like the beginning of my career, and I'm so grateful to everybody on set. The first time he met Daniel and Kiki was during the scene. I think it was the first scene where they meet him to get the equipment. Yeah. First time they met him. Like, they hadn't talked to him, the actor, before. And so they do the scene, and then apparently, like, they were recounting it. And then, like, right after the scene, they say cut, he's like, hey, I'm really cool. I'm sorry. I know this is my character. And he's, like, trying to, like, pitch himself.
Yeah, oh, jeez.
And it's kind of cute. But, yeah, it's just, like, it seemed like, I just love Jordan Peele and all the stuff he makes and how much he puts into it. And that, he said, it's like, I want to make a spectacle. And he went out of his way to not only get an incredible DP, an incredible cast, incredible sound design, but it was such a multifaceted and multi-layered idea, and there's just so much meat on the bone. Yeah. That we could be sucking on the marrow for months.
I can't wait for this to come out on Blu-ray. All the extra stuff to come out and whatnot.
Seriously. Please go see it in IMAX if you can, though, or Dolby or whatever.
I'm thinking about rewatching it now.
Honestly. No, I'm going to see it this weekend, like just to like look around and be like, oh my god, it's
just see if there's any other
huge
ones.
Screen. No, no, thank you.
That would change the movie quite a bit. Oh, there's more than one.
Nope, no thanks. But yeah, on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And we're gonna go
watch more movie.
Yeah, they good. I swear, go watch Get Out and Us.